We have some pretty huge news from the Ottawa Senators. Timmy Stutzle has signed an 8-year extension, plus they've announced some returning members of the Alumni coming back to work for the organization as the summer of Pierre continues. All that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some pretty significant and multiple pieces of good Ottawa Senators news here today. We had an announcement earlier. Pierre Dorion had a little bit of a press conference. They actually invited a lot of what they call Sens influencers from Twitter. It wasn't just normal media. There was a lot of other people allowed to go as well. So they're certainly doing a lot to reconnect with its fan base, which is certainly great to see. I know one point back a number of years ago, they used to do more of those things, and then obviously things kind of went in a different direction there for a while. But as I mentioned, the summer of Pierre continues. I don't think anybody was expecting to get an announcement on Tim Stutzle today, but that's what they've given us. Tim Stutzle has signed an 8-year extension with the Senators. Of course, he is in the final year of his ELC, so this contract will kick in next year. Timmy Stutzle is still 20 years of age, and certainly looks like he's well on his way to becoming an elite player in this league. The 8-year average annual value was $8.35 million, so it might seem a little rich, but obviously if you take a look at what he's done so far and what the projections are on him moving forward, I think this contract, like all do, especially for a young player with only a couple of years experience, does pose a little bit of risk, but it would be a player I'd be willing to bet on, and it'd be a deal I'd be willing to do myself, no problem. This is a guy who's, like I said, going to be an elite level center in the NHL for some time. It's already, if you look at a lot of the advanced stats, he's already one of the elite puck carrying centermen. The move to center last year was absolutely huge for his progression after playing on the wing in his rookie season. Obviously showed a lot of good improvements and things to come, but obviously this keeps him in Ottawa for 9 years now. Now, of course, the second half of this contract, he does get a 10-team no-trade list as well when he's eligible, which is the final 4 years of this deal. So the Ottawa Senators now have their pretty much the entire core group of players inked to long-term deals. You've got Thomas Chabot, you've got Brady Tkachuk, who signed last year, Drake Batherson signed last year, then they got Norris and Stutzle done this year, and none of them are making more than this. Timmy will be the highest paid Senator once the deal kicks in a year. They've given a lot of reasons for Alex DeBrincat to want to re-sign. Of course, he was a big acquisition this offseason via trade. And of course, Claude Giroux come over via free agency. So there's a lot to like about this team. There's a lot of great moves made, and I don't think they're completely done here. They still want to add a defenseman. We have Jake Sanderson making his rookie appearance to start the year, hopefully. So lots and lots and lots to be excited about for an Ottawa Senators fans. Now, I've seen some people online, and this tends to happen every time a young player gets a massive 8-year contract, drawing some comparisons to other players, talking about how it might be a stretch or an overpayment or what have you. I know I saw some drawing a comparison to the 8-year deal signed by Jack Hughes. Of course, this is a slightly bigger bump in pay for Timmy than it is for Jack. But the problem is that the comparison being used online was last year's numbers. Well, last year's numbers to me, looking at player versus player, isn't completely fair because, for one, Jack Hughes is a year older, and you got to look at the fact that when Jack signed that contract was the beginning of last season, so the team couldn't have really known exactly how the season was going to finish. So really, they based this contract on his first 2 years in the NHL, just like Tim Stutzle. After 2 years each in the NHL, Stutzle has played 132 games and has 87 points, whereas Jack Hughes had 117 games and 52 points. So not only has Tim Stutzle proved that he's a little bit more durable, but he's, to me, in my opinion, further along offensively than Jack was. And now, of course, Hughes had a real nice season last year. It was over a point per game in a shortened year, but Hughes has missed time a lot. So hopefully, either of these guys can remain healthy because they're both huge parts of their teams. But looking at their year 2 seasons, based on where they were at after 2 years completing the NHL, Stutzle is far ahead in the offensive production. Now, the other thing you got to admit here as well is that Timmy's going to be blessed with some pretty darn good experienced line mates. The Ottawa Senators' top 6 looks pretty deep now after adding Giroux and DeBrincat, who are most likely going to be his line mates this year. To have a player like Giroux on one side and a proven consistent 40-goal scorer on the other side, and as good as Timmy's been, he should break out. I would be shocked if he doesn't hit at least 70 points this year. Wouldn't be surprised if he surpasses that, but I think you can probably put Stutzle down for 70 plus points and have a major breakout year. His training and conditioning this offseason looked phenomenal, and I just really think he's going to be one of the players to watch this year as a major breakout player. So Jack Hughes is making a little bit less money, but like I said, in my opinion, if you look at where they were after 2 years, Stutzle is ahead of the curve on those numbers. Now, looking at year 3, well, Timmy's not in year 3 just yet, so we'll have to wait and see. In my opinion, that's the more fair way to do things. So will they both be elite players long term? It's certainly quite possible. Certainly hope for both fan bases and both franchises that does work out to be the case. But Stutzle is a phenomenal young player, and certainly, like I said, all contracts like this have risk, but it's risk that I think the Ottawa Senators are poised to take, and certainly. I think it's a low risk. Now, there's also some other news here today. Of course, Anthony LeBlanc was there, president of the business operations, and announced a couple of returning alumni members. Now, I believe Chris Neal, who is mentioned here, was already doing something with the organization, but Chris Phillips used to work for them after he retired and had since left. Now, of course, a lot of the departures from the organization were all generally, and I can't confirm it 100%, but most believed in what were the stories out there was that they just couldn't work with Eugene Melnyk. Now, of course, Eugene Melnyk has since passed away. His young daughters are now running and operating the team as owners. And, of course, they're letting Pierre do the work, as we've seen. It's a whole different philosophy now. It's like this organization has done a complete 360. They're trying to reconnect with the fan base. They're trying to put a much better product on the ice. They're trying to take some big steps forward here. And I think regardless of the long-term plan, I'm not sure if there is one, with Melnyk's girls being owners, either they're looking at this as that they need to increase the value of their investment, or if they do intend to sell, they might as well sell for as much money as possible, and getting this team set up with a better on-ice product and letting the team spend more to the cap and getting the new arena in place would certainly be huge to adding its value. They'll get this team value way up in the next couple of years if they are able to accomplish that. So to me, I think that's probably where they're going, but wouldn't be shocked if they remain involved in some capacity, at least as a minority ownership stake. But like I said, the alumni returning to the organization shows another sign of the times changing. So Chris Phillips will become the VP of Business Operations, and Chris Neal will become the VP of Business and Community Relations. And I believe Neal was already working, I think, on the charity side of things, doing something in that capacity. I don't know exactly what his old title was, but Phillips had departed, and it'd be nice to see Daniel Alfredsson return, but I think that in some capacity there, I think Alfredsson's interested in becoming part of an ownership group. At least that's my take on it, and I don't know that he's going to return until I think he's got more of a long-term plan, but it wouldn't be surprising if that's one of the next plays to try to figure out a way to bring him back in the fold. But obviously this is a good start in the right direction, not only to bring back more members of the alumni who want to work with the team, but also to keep other players around like Alex DeBrincat, who they gave up a first-round pick for, and hope to see him be a part of the team's future. So a pretty significant day. Now, the other actual piece of news that Anthony LeBlanc did talk about, a couple of details on the new arena. They're projecting that the new arena will be just a little bit under 17,000 seats in the new place downtown that they're trying to obviously move forward with. They've created a spot where they've been getting over some of the first hurdles, but they're still not at a spot where it's an absolute confirmed done deal here. But I thought that was interesting to note. I thought it might be a little bit more, but certainly they want to go for the right size that they can obviously get down there, and they want to have the full building all the time. Looking at the ticket sales for the home opener online, the tickets aren't even available yet to the general public, and it's crazy how many seats are not available right now. Like the whole building is going to likely be pretty darn full. Getting Senators tickets this year looks like it might actually be more costly and more challenging because of the higher demand. It's just nice to see this team take such a new approach, complete 360 that we've seen here in the last few years. And obviously, the summer of Pierre continues with another significant, important move. Of course, the one thing that remains is that elusive top four defenseman that they would like to add. But I don't know that all hope is given up on that. I think they're still working on things. I don't know if Jacob Chychrun's going to work out to be that guy. I know there's heavy interest, but the price remains high. So we'll have to see where things go. But it wouldn't be shocking if they pull off one more move or surprise before the end of training camp and the season gets underway. So let me know your thoughts on this Senators news down in the comments. We'll discuss further. Of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.